Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Arms of the angels. Woohoo!
If you ever wanted to find more rest in your life when the world won't stop, then do we have the show for you. Today, we'll talk about catching your breath, finding a respite, and how to find a way to slow your mind down when the world just won't stop. That, plus we'll talk about the beauty of sea slugs, the danger of sandbars, what in the world is applied kinesiology, grounding to the earth, when to walk instead of run, and why 10,000 blueberries may just be the greatest gift in the world. So welcome to the show, CJ. Are you ready to
I
shine?
am ready to shine.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
So before we dive right into things, what just happened with your coffee?
I just spilled coffee all over myself as I was walking over. I don't think I have any stains, or at least the shirt isn't showing it. Um,
I thought it somehow seemed appropriate of the how to find rest when the world won't stop, and you're sprinting along with your coffee, so certainly personifying the same challenge
yes,
this week.
yes, I am definitely in that same place. My meditations have been not ideal, although I did a body of work yesterday to keep me more grounded. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't been breathing. You know, when you breathe up and you're breathing down versus breathing and expanding all the way up,
Yes.
I've been shallow breathing all this
So,
week,
and
even when I'm
that's what.
consciously trying to change it.
Have you taken a sticky note, put it on your computer, put it on yourself? It's sort of like having one of those rocks. It's something that says just breathe,
No, I actually have it on my arm. It vibrates.
and it keeps telling you breathe.
No, what happens is Fitbit has 10 minutes before the hour a reminder to move. And so that reminder to move reminds me to get up, walk around, breathe, connect to my oneness. I think that one of the
Mhm.
things that I've been working on is, there's the ego me, there's my higher spirit, and then who knows what other schizophrenic versions of me are running around. But, because when you do different types of work, that probably when you're coaching, a certain aspect of yourself shows up, which is different than when you're editing the show, which is different than for me, like when I'm actually working with my kids. So those different aspects of CJ show up, and it's like, snapping it to be instead of a jumbled mess to just always tune back into the one higher source and that source can do everything. Like you don't have to have your ego running around and your planning version. I mean, those things will always be there because that's also part of the oneness. So
I love it. I've been the theme for myself this week, and Jessica's been saying, "Ooh, I like this, but are you going to be able to keep it up?" Which is, I've been trying to remember that we're all love. We all come from love. We all embody love. We're imbued with love. Every cell of our being is love, and to bring that love to everything that I do. So that's why Jessica's been joking. She's like, "You're treating me so incredibly loving. You're spoiling me. Are you going to be able to keep this up?" So my theme has been no matter how crazy anything gets, no matter how much we're still trying to fix a green screen 30 seconds before an interview, as we're playing this, I'm like, how can I remember to stay in that place of love? And it's admittedly, it's challenging when, things are falling out of the sky and you're going, we're love. And I'm not, I say that and I can hear part of me, or maybe it's other people going, yeah, right. When the going gets tough, it's challenging at those times. But I'm
hmm
just trying to remember and bring it back to that centered place of I am love. And this week has been a major, I want to say a mega energy shift as I'm doing that in the craziness, because I guess we had, maybe it's everything, I don't know, catching up isn't the right word, but it's been a busy few weeks, and it hasn't. Last week we were playing catch up. We thought we'd be caught up this week. It looks like next week's looking great, but you have to find a way to center and ground yourself as the whole world is revved up. And going to love for me this week has been magical. I'm thinking now, I was doing an interview a couple of days ago, or I guess it was just before the interview, and I'm like, Jessica, quick, baby deer. There were baby deer,
Oh.
two of them, like twins, hanging out right outside the window. And they're like smaller than baby sheep. These are tiny little
Oh,
things.
so cute.
So cute. And they move so fast and they wanted to hang out in our yard. I had to take that as a good,
Oh, yeah.
energetic sign.
Yeah.
But getting into that place of love, I think even in the craziness, you start to see the magic around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny because I had, not surprisingly, because we always seem to center around similar themes, is that this morning I woke up and I did my channeled writing. And what I got was that, um, well, it's talking about pain as a harbinger for, as just a messenger. Pain as a messenger. And so instead of, I think what happens is that when pain arises for me, or stress, or, a stressful day, or a crazy day, or filled with stuff, that pain, there's this kind of attacking, protecting feeling like, okay, I'm going to get this. I'm going to go tackle the day, or, I'm going to go for it. Or even I've noticed that uh, there's this gal that I follow her body of work, and she talks about white light coming and eradicating and destroying dark energy. And I even think my channeled writing this morning was questioning that even attitude, because there's kind of an attacking, like, so if you attack with white light, there's something seemingly off with that, versus just allowing white light to surround and gently permeate
Yes.
and loosen. It's
Bubble
like
of light
yeah,
there.
like a candle being melted by hot wax. It changes form, and in that changing of the form, it changes everything, right? It changes the way that item was being held, and when it shifts perspective from being held into a candle this big to a shrunken round that's kind of melted on the side, surrounded by heat and light, it can then shift to where, like, then your body can operate and do what it needs to do. But I only mention it because I was thinking a lot of spiritual folks, they talk about like the white light coming in and saving a day, like I think it's, I'm beginning to question that.
And I'm all for no fight anything.
Yeah.
No fight, no fight. In fact, to say no fight implies fight. Embrace, bring in, it
Mm-hmm.
all is. I wish you could see yourself about 30 seconds ago
Yeah.
when you said instead, bring in the white light and melt. When you said the word, approximately the word melt, and people will be replaying this, there was a softness
Yeah.
that came over your face when you said that.
That's
That
nice.
went, it was there. The softness after the word fight, it was noticeably your face was different. It melted when you said the word melted, and then when you brought the word fight back up, your face changed again. It's all about the energies of the thought and even the word that we're using that changes our energy and our perspective on everything around us.
Yeah, yeah, and so it's funny because I before meeting with you, I just had a meeting with a client, and she was saying that she's in a space where her whole office is. She said, "I'm going through a downward spiral." And in fact, I talked to two clients this week who had a very similar kind of scenario where there was one was where they're surrounded by up senior people going, where are the numbers, what's happening, what are you guys doing, are you doing enough, what are you doing, why isn't stuff coming together, and like every time they meet, it's just this like driving attack. And then this other one has just one person in her office, so she has a group of people who are just very peaceful, nice, calm people. And there's one that's kind of attacking. Why did you do it that way? How come this is happening? Why did you get that award? Like, and when you have that kind of fear-based bullying kind of negative energy, um, it's hard not to get affected by that. But the pain, right, which is like, which is either the pain or the shock of being like stressed out or having all those things, is just a messenger to go, oh, okay, how can I just surround myself with love and light and remember that it's all around me? Like, I think remembering is one, and then surrounding yourself is another. And then I think a lot of spiritual folks talk about the white light obliterating, like it's a force of good, like force of good. And I think that even that is not quite right. I like your idea of just gently like surrounding yourself, melting, like that.
And then you could
Just what
extend it out even to those around you. So I had a customer service call earlier today where we
mm-hmm.
were misbilled, all the usual stuff, and you could see how it's going, and they're on the phone defending themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, let's crank up the love. Let's crank up the love. Let's crank up the love. And it worked.
Mm.
We got off that. We're like, how does it get any better than this? Woohoo!
Yeah.
Because the other person actually felt better.
Yeah.
The other person, we were very cognizant of what they're saying. We wanted them to be able to feel heard, completely and totally heard. Everybody wants to feel heard.
Mm-hmm.
And then we helped give them the opportunity to make things right for us.
Right. That's
And it
nice.
worked.
That's very nice. I love it. So, what's been stressing you out? What are the things that are going on aside from sea slugs and sandbars?
It's not stress. Well, when Jessica works on the green screen an hour before an interview, that's been tough.
Yeah.
Other than the green screen, because I have a protocol for this is flying. To me, this is flying an airplane, and people watching on YouTube, you can see it looks like both of us are wearing headphones for flying an airplane, and that's how I view it. I have a 2 hour out checklist. I have my 1 hour out checklist. I have everything that I'm taking care of before flight. And so when somebody comes in and says, I'm going to change the wheels on your airplane or take out the motor or replace it with a new one right before you take off,
Oh, very
that's
disruptive for you.
challenging.
I see.
Other than that, it's just been the constant pace this week. It's been a pace that hasn't really backed off. And so it has been, how can I find the softness, the gentleness in this pace? And one thing that I joked about in the beginning has been we've been walking more than running, trying to rest and recover our body. And maybe we'll talk about this applied kinesiologist we met. There are no coincidences in life. And after he worked on us, he said, take it easy this week. And the body, I think, has been asking for it. It's been seeing the beauty right before us that you wouldn't see if you're moving fast. We saw it, Jessica spotted it before me. It kind of looked like this, I don't know, puddle of mush in the ocean right near the seashore until we saw a breathing pattern to it. And it's called a sea hare, or a version of a sea slug. It was about the size of my hand. It weighed, I don't know, 3 or 4 pounds. And it was this kind of gelatinous, it seems like it's a relative of either an octopus, a squid, or a all the tentacles coming down. Why am I spacing the name of this
Octopus?
beautiful? No, like they're a jellyfish.
Oh,
It seems
jellyfish,
like
yeah.
relatives are an octopus, a squid, or jellyfish. And it ended up, we followed it for about 10 or 15 minutes until the water pushed it in and it beached itself. And I sent it so much love and sent it love and sent it love. And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be harmed. And I scooped it up and then I walked and waded out until I put it in some deeper water. And it's such a magical experience. It turns out their natural defense is ink,
Mm.
that they squirt you with a horrible tasting ink for those that eat it. But it didn't have the urge to ink me, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's
It
cool. I
got
wonder
the
what would
idea
have
that it was,
happened if you had gotten inked.
I think I would have had a little ink stain on me. But my moving more slowly, maybe it's connecting to the earth, something you wanted to talk about, grounding. But doing that has allowed me in this pace that has been go, go, go to take it more in my kind, gentle, easy, good
Mm-hmm.
fashion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I had a very, I did a huge body of work yesterday, and it was about like not breathing properly. And then each time when I've tuned into my energy, there's like a kink, like it kind of was like this, where it was on the kinked over to the side. And I was like, wow, what is going on? And I realized that there was a fear of grounding into the earth. Um, if I was completely aligned, like a pencil, stuck into the earth, like if I was completely aligned, then there was a fear somehow associated with that, which I did a bunch of work to clear the fears that I had. But what happens is that I feel like the societal message around us is that we always have to protect ourselves. We have to be protecting ourselves. We need to plan. We need to be vigilant against a world that's out to get us. That kind of energy that surround us a lot. That's kind of there's so much phrases in our society that talk about this. I talked about, like no pain, no gain, like this kind of drive forward. And, and, and I realized that kind of vigilance and got to go get it, got to go plan, all that stuff is just super exhausting. One, and if you really think about why does someone do that, it's so that they can be safe and protected, and you're reacting to what you think is out there harming you. A very different way of being is just being present, like you were with the sea slug, right? Where you were just present with it and responding versus reacting. And if you can just be calm enough and still enough to be present, you can actually respond and protect yourself to be safe. It's a very different kind of energy than I need to react and protect and do stuff and, build fortifications and plans and be vigilant, attack things, go attack that darkness with light. It's a very different kind of energy. It's like you said, it's kind of softer and gentler and in some ways way easier, right? Like all you have to do is just relax and then you can be protected and be
I'm so
present.
glad. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because it also, if we want to talk about happiness, which is a big theme here, I must build the fortress before I can let my guard down suggests that I'm never happy because I'm always going to be building the fort. There's always some reason I need to build the fort stronger, higher, better, um, wealthier, bigger, you name it,
Right.
before we can finally, according to the societal rules, before I have finally made it enough that we can let our guard down.
Right. Yeah.
Or we can just be with the sea slug now,
Right.
or, or whatever the sea slug is to us.
Right, but what's so interesting is that was a perfect example because had you, oh my gosh, there's a sea slug. Oh, isn't this the one that shoots poison at? Oh my gosh, I have to protect myself. Let's just, stay away from the sea slug. But instead, you're like, no, if I am just calm and responsive, right? Like had the sea slug, you know, presented an area of safety concern, you would have you would have responded, probably not reacted or some combination of the two, but you would have been in a different place versus reacting, which is like, there's a sea slug. I must run away. I must put a little fortress around the sea slug so that it doesn't attack me. It's just a
Well,
very different way of living, of which feels like that's going back to your kind, gentle, easy, good, right? It's much more kinder to just be calmly present and respond versus reacting and vigilant.
to use another example, I've been watching. There's at the south end of Emerald Isle. It's such a magical place. There's a sandbar presence that ebbs and flows over years on the south part of the island. That sometimes is half a mile wide. Sometimes I've heard is 3 or 4 miles wide, and it changes each year. And you can see just off the shore of the sandy area that you can walk and hike and run on. You can see waves hitting each other in different directions because there's sand not too far beneath the surface. And we've been getting to around a low tide and during our morning run time right now, 7, 8 in the morning for Jessica and I've been wanting to explore. And so yesterday I saw the edge of the sandbar, and so I took a few steps out onto it. I actually said a prayer first for safety and guidance, and I said I want to pay attention because I know it looks like it's shallow over there, but that could actually be a very, very strong current. So let's be real careful. And I stepped out a few steps, felt great. I stepped out a few steps more, watched a whole school of tiny, tiny little silverfish jump up out of the water in front of me, down,
Cool.
and repeated it 2 or 3 times. I'm like, this is magical. Took one more step, felt the energy, the best way I can describe it, go from my head down to the floor. And turned around and walked back.
Oh, what do you think that energy was then?
It was very clear. If I had taken another step or two, the current was going to be way too strong. I was going to probably
Wow.
yank my feet out from underneath me.
Wow.
And being super present. I didn't feel it as a fear. I literally felt it as an energy dropping down through me.
Wow,
And I'm like,
fascinating.
back. Back is good. Back is perfect.
Yeah, you're
I was
responding to the energy.
exactly
Mm.
no judgment, no anything, just a hyper presence that I'm not supposed to take another step in that direction, CJ.
Okay, so yesterday I told you how I was trying to get grounded into earth and the kind of a fear of being not aligned. And what happens to me is when I do connect into earth, like you did with what when you were talking about the earth coming down or the energy like and grounding your feet and then responding. I was thinking about yesterday. I was afraid to connect to earth, and then I was doing all this work to do energy work to connect to earth. And when I did, it was like I don't know, madness. Like there's so much energy running through my body, and the person I worked with said, you know, if you were to be in front of a medical doctor, they would think that you're having an epileptic fit because I was shaking so much and so much energy was running through my body that she said, I think that people would be worried, like they would hospitalize you. But I know because she's done this work herself and she's had all these energetic changes that this is just energy and you're responding to the energy. And if you tune in, what reminded me of your story is if you tune into that energy, it's there to help you, right? Like that energy was there to
Absolutely.
help you. And so tuning and being grounded into the earth, um, even though it shook the living heck out of me, like I was just shaking and like my arms were flapping and like my body was like I couldn't breathe properly. Like it was interesting because the earth was trying to heal me. Like it was the energy was running through me, and I'm not sure why for me because I for whatever reason I have this kind of Pele energy. So when energy hits me, it's just like it's
Full on.
explosive. Yeah, so it's kind of explosive for I'm serious. I was shaking and moving like that for about a half an hour. And but at the same time it was healing like that earth energy if you allow it, if you are present enough to it and if you're willing to respond to it because I think a lot of people would have in the past I would have resisted like what's that, that's weird, I'm not going to do that, that's bizarre, I look weird, I'm not going to do any of that. But if I just kind of like let the energy move through me and respond to it like you did, right, you felt the earth come down and then you just and then you walk back right. But if you can just respond to it, it's actually there to heal you. And it was interesting. I talked to this one woman, and she said that different shakes, like sometimes I go like this, like my arm just flails up. If you see people having kriyas, which is this, your body having an energetic reaction to the energy. This is, she
Mhm.
said, this is fire, and
So the
this, what?
arm flapping
Yeah,
up in front of
yeah.
you is
You see.
fire.
Like this, it kind of has that, and then there's water, which has this kind of feeling. It kind of feels,
Sway
yeah,
feeling.
kind of
Yeah.
like a that kind of thing, and earth, which is this energy like this, which is kind of like circular, like a centrifugal force around. And then shaking. I do a lot of shaking, which I can't remember what that is, but it's probably, I can't remember what that is. And then breathing, which is metal. And so she explained to me, because I've been just shaking, not knowing what it is, but she said, oh, that's the earth. And the elements are going through you trying to balance your energy. And so once I knew that, I can kind of rest and like, oh, okay, it's like a healing that's happening. You know, I have my energy isn't quite aligned. And so the earth energy, the air energy, the fire energy is trying to kind of get my system back into balance. But you can only do that if you're connected to earth.
So you need to connect to earth, and I want to go there in just a second. In fact, need to connect to earth, need to breathe, and I would think be present so that you're not fighting it. Because
Right.
if you fight it, it can't resolve itself. You can't integrate. You're
Yeah, you have to
disintegrating instead.
surrender into it.
So two things. First off, I'm wondering if I can shift you to your right a little bit. You veered off center.
Okay.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. And then I wanted to talk about this applied kinesiologist we ran
Yeah, what
into a
is
few
that?
days ago. Actually, let me have you go to your right just a little bit more.
Sure.
And perfect. And before I do that, um, going back to grounding, before we moved here, and you're challenging me, and I've been challenged by this applied kinesiologist. Um, I'm usually always grounded. So we always walk barefoot whenever possible.
Yeah.
But usually here in the studio, I have a grounding pad under my hands or under my
Nice.
feet that's plugged into ground in the house. We sleep on grounding sheets so that we can always be discharging that energy. And I know this
Mm.
evening, after all of the fun is done for today, and I have some beautiful coaching sessions coming up, after that, I'm going to go out into the garage and get all of our grounding paraphernalia and literally have us grounded or connected to the earth in our studio, in our bedroom again, because that help diffuses a lot of that energy. And that's energy that
Mm.
people are going, well, what is that energy really? Well, in the wintertime, it's why you can shuffle across a carpet and zap somebody because you're not grounded. It's why you have a third prong on your electrical, like on your computer, so that it can stay grounded and protect its electronics. You need to stay grounded as well. And
Mm.
so I'm literally going to go get my gear and get grounded. That helps take me as well, either out of a place of shakes or just it just feels like a discharge, like being at the beach, or like we all have this universal urge until we're told it's something gross or something to go barefoot through the grass, and that that you get from being grounded.
Mm-hmm.
So earlier this week, we had our little Suzuki SX4. We're at the beach. We still have on our old I don't even know what you call them, stickies, plaques, something on it from our barefoot running, our grounded book many years ago. And we run into this gentleman there who goes, I know your book. I know you. I love you guys. And he's talking to us
Wow.
about grounding. He was an applied kinesiologist. So cool. He was traveling through. It turns out he was staying at the house next to ours. Synchronicity of
Oh my
synchronicity.
gosh.
He heals by talking with the body through muscle testing, but not just hold up your arm, push your arm down, and all these different intricate positions, but he uses mudras, positions of the
Mm.
fingers to ask the body, is this chemical? Is this physical? Is this emotional? Is this
Hmm.
energetic?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? Where's going on? So he laid me down on this table and he did some muscle testing, and then he's going and he's testing, he's asking all these questions through muscle testing, and he's like, your right calf is tight,
You're what?
and your right calf is tight,
Oh.
and there's something over here with your left knee. And he was spot on every single time, and he said, you've got 7 major injuries that your body has yet to resolve, and pointed out
Wow.
each one.
Wow.
Spot on. And he's like, what I can do is I can basically, by pressing on origin and insertion points of the muscle or going after spindle cells within the muscle, I can literally reset those things based on what the body is asking for.
Hmm.
It was fascinating. Now, during that time, he was literally standing on a grounding mat, which was a
Hmm.
sign and symbol for getting grounded. Jessica and I both did it. It was mind blowing. The
Mm.
concept that you can ask the body, and the body knows. Clearly, the body has an intelligence. We don't heal a wound. The body takes care of that on its own. We're just an observer of it. But the communication, the level of communication that he has, some of this being ancient technique, probably thousands of years old, some incredibly new, was just jaw dropping.
I have a couple questions. So the mudras, for people who aren't familiar, they're these Indian symbols that you have for like they're different hand gestures that you make
Yeah, yeah.
that tune into energy. So you're saying he's using muscle testing, which is usually like you can do fingers or you can do this one. So he's doing muscle testing and
Yeah, much more
mudras.
advanced. So he,
Okay.
in one hand, he'll do a mudra. So maybe if you cross the fingers, that means chemical. If you
Right.
use another
Oh.
finger, that means physical. If you use another finger, that might mean spiritual. And so there
Uh,
are 4 main ones. And then in his other hand, he's got some sort of a wheel attached by a belt to him that he runs his fingers across. And if it goes without resistance, that's probably a no. If it goes with a resistance, which you'll hear as a squeak, he's getting a yes. So it's going as he's running his hand down, almost like playing a guitar on a
okay, so there's
wheel.
something attached to his hands that's picking us up.
Something attached around his belt. And so he has his
Hmm.
hand down by his side, and he's running his hand over this kind of like slippery wheel. And if instead of his hand slipping, his hand catches on the slippery wheel, it makes a skidding sound.
Okay, so this hand is actually going over your body. One hand is going over your body. The other one is
doing
doing muscle
mudras. Yep.
testing to like see strong, hold strong for yes, go weak for no, and that. And then basically figuring out in your body whether it's based on the mudra, whether it's a chemical, physical, or whatever kind of energetic
And that's
thing.
one thing that he does. And then asking the body, where is it? So he'll scan with one hand over. Jessica has a foot that's been swollen since literally the day after we got married. There's some symbolism in there, and it still hasn't resolved itself. And so he could run his hand over it while muscle testing, squeak, 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 squeak on the wheel, sliding his hand over the wheel, and I'll get to a particular spot, sliding his hand, and it'll go with that one hand, and it'll back up and it'll go away. He'll go back on it, and he can find the exact spot through this advanced version of muscle testing. And he
Wow.
was spot on. I had a surgical spot on my right knee that hasn't resolved itself since it was operated on in 89 or 90. That still gives me trouble. I did not tell him about it. There is no scar from 89. It was a tiny little arthroscopy operation, a little scope where they made just a tiny little nick and went in. And yet he's like, here. And all of a sudden drove his thumb straight in. I'm like, electrical shot. I'm like, how did you know? And he's like,
Ah.
the body told me.
What I find is so fast. So, on Wednesday of this week, I had intuitive healer come on, and she works with God and angels and such. And she used to be a nurse, and she uses her eyes. So she'll be blinking like this, and like she'll do a scan. So her scan is like a CAT scan, but with her eyes. So she'd be looking and like looking at your head and like, okay, cranial sacral, like left, right on the
Same
neck.
stuff.
Yeah, so she's going through and kind of with her eyes and she scanning, and right means there's an issue, there's something. Left, there's some energy disturbance. Left is it's fine. So she scans her whole body. And then I had two listeners come in, and they said that she was super accurate with the kind of stuff that she was able to pick up. I mean, it's kind of shocking. And then she does, when she works with people, she just blinks at them, and it's like she's channeling God's light through her eyes. I don't know. I mean, it was just, it's crazy it's amazing all the different modalities that people work with. I mean, this is something that it just came to her. This gentleman for applied kinesiology, did he develop it? Did he learn it? How did he come up
It
with it?
sounds like it's a combination of many modalities. He's gone through chiropractic college and he learned from a mentor how to do a lot of the basics. And then he's built onto that. He has a website, I think it's cleanmylivingcomputer.com, on how you can read the body. And so he's put a lot of these techniques together over the years. But it's probably, I mean, the mudras have been there for what, thousands of years,
Yes.
Ayurveda. So the body we've known as a science, Ayurveda is probably 5,000 years old, that the body can speak to us. To me, it's actually in many ways more advanced than medicine, which you take a pill, it goes after one thing, it affects a whole bunch of others.
Hmm.
But it's not the intelligence of the body speaking to us.
Right. Yeah, I think that there's a different mindset. It goes back to what we were saying before. If you're like, I'm going to obliterate that cancer or attack that cancer. And I think there's certain things like maybe cancer is one of those things that you do that with. Like you don't, surround it with gentle love, easy, good. That may be a bad one to use as an example, but if the
From
pain
working
is a
with my dog
messenger,
Pump, from working with my dog Pumpkin, who had cancer, and reading a bunch of books by Deepak on it, my belief was and probably still is, if there's a way to remove the tumor, remove it as quickly as you can.
right,
Then go after it with all the love
love
and
and
light and healing. That's and I must say to everybody out there, I know nothing. I pretend to know nothing. And certainly meeting with this applied kinesiologist, I know even less than nothing. In a
right.
good way.
Hmm.
I'm so open. Who knows about any of this? In
It's
the most beautiful way,
it's
CJ.
funny because I think the two of us are really open, right? That's probably, and it's very few people. And I was wondering because when we were saying like the stuff in the beginning where I'm shaking and you're feeling, not everyone's gonna. I have girlfriends who are like, "How do you even feel this stuff?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just really open." So people may not feel that they need the grounding sheets or any of those things because they can't feel a difference. But if you're super open, you actually feel a difference when this happens. And I was thinking when we had this gal on, one of the gals that we had on had cancer. She had breast cancer that she decided not to have operated on. And so it had reached advanced stages, and she was trying to figure out if there was alternative techniques aside from operating that she should work on. And I thought, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what to think of this. But then I think part of it is her doctors have given her pretty bad messages, like you're terminal. You probably have 3 or 4 months to live. And this gal who was a healer said, I can heal you. You don't have to die. And I thought, I don't know if you should say that to a person. I don't know. And I was very, unsure what was happening. I'm just the interviewer, and I don't really know. Can she heal this woman? I don't know. Because the woman has to want to be healed and have hope. But is it advanced beyond that? I don't really know. But a part of me did. How's this related? It's related to the thing that we're just talking about. I'm not even sure. Oh, that if you're open-minded to it, and if you're open to it, then it can actually work. And I thought, well, what's the worst going to happen? The worst that's going to happen is someone has hope that something that is physical is going to resolve itself. And isn't that enough for healing?
Absolutely.
Right. So who knows? This applied kinesiology guide, this other woman who's doing all this stuff with the blinking, who the hell knows if it's working? But if you believe it's working and you have the hope and promise and are open, then it's probably going to do more than not doing nothing.
I look at it as all energy.
Yeah.
And I also look at it as taking your power back, having your body speak for you. I think is more than, please, doctor, please, magic wizard out there, please take care of me. If we believe we're going to heal, we stand, because the doctor doesn't do, a doctor, the best doctor in the world, still doesn't heal us. It's still our own body that heals, which means we need to be in alignment with the energy of healing for that healing to take place. Now, that's still, there's no judgment. It doesn't mean everybody's going to heal because we came in here with a soul plan. Right. And if our plan is to check out at a certain time, we may be checking out no matter what in the world we do about it.
Right.
But when we put in ourselves in alignment, a belief system that I can heal, I can do this with or without surgery, with this gentleman, without that gentleman, but there's a way I could do it, then we stand a decent chance. If somebody, on the other hand, says, trying to bite my tongue here, I consider it a crime. I don't know any other way to say it. Says you're not going to heal.
Right. You're going to die in 4 months. You have about 4 months. In a sense,
it seals your fate. For 99.9% of us who goes, that's it, I better pack up my bags. Yeah. And if somebody does that for you, it's terrible. If they do that to your animal, your pet, and says your pet's not going to make it, it's terrible, because that's a terminal diagnosis. It doesn't mean that what you've got is terminal. There's a huge difference between the two. There's 0.1% who are going to fight that like heck, and I applaud them. But I think it's a crime to tell somebody you're not going to make it. You've got X, Y, Z, because we don't know. Anita Morjani, I was just reading about her again today, and we've had her on the show. Amazing human being. She was pretty much dead on a table, had cancer, organs shut down. She's in a coma. That's it. She's going down for the count. And all of a sudden, she wakes up, the cancer's rolled back, and I don't know if it was days or weeks before the cancer is completely gone, never to return.
Wow.
So if you give up on somebody, or if you tell somebody you're not going to make it, it's not giving that possibility for the magic to occur. Right. And we're all magic. We go to a quantum level, we don't even exist. Right. We're tiny little specks of energy.
Right. I think it's the thing that you'd mentioned, which is you have a soul plan. So if you decide to hear someone's terminal prognosis and say, yes, I'm going to die, then you probably are going to die. If you think, nope, it's not my time, I'm going to live, then you probably will. You have to have hope. If you don't have hope or faith, I think it's probably more than hope. I think it's faith. if you have faith, then I think things could change up. So even if, this applied kinesiologist, this gal that was blinking, if she gives someone hope and faith that something greater is happening to them, and you can't defy your soul plan, but if someone can survive from being in a coma and cancer, then why couldn't she, right?
Yeah. And I believe this gentleman who's doing applied kinesiology, I want to send people his way all day long. To me, it makes so much more sense that the body is speaking to us and we can give the body what it's asking for. Mm-hmm. So to me, that makes all the sense in the world. But this is all about, I guess where we're talking today is about what's flow. Mm-hmm. And where we find flow, whether it's in medicine, whether it's in being in a hurry and having to get go, or being stressed out, if we can find a way to get back into that positive resonance of flow and not fighting the world or fighting the situation. So it's sort of like, to go one last thing on the medical side, war on cancer, war on heart disease, war on that. What you resist persists.
Right.
Embrace, embody, ask, why are you here, Cancer? How are you here to serve me, and how can I serve you? If you embrace instead, you're more likely to find a way through.
Yeah, it's funny. If you think about, okay, you have a piece of fruit and there's like a little spot that's, not doing so well, a little brown spot. You just carve it out, right? You don't go attacking the apple. You just, do you know
Let's give
I mean?
the apple all the poison chemicals we can.
How can we actually stop the brown spot? It's like, so, but I think to your point, you carve out you're not going to eat the apple with the little brown spot, right? You carve it out. And so, maybe all you have to do is, cut it out, carve it out, whatever it is. But the attacking energy, like you don't carve it like this, through the apple. You just take a little paring knife and carve it out. So if we can just, and you were talking about work earlier, and one of my channeled writings was, you think about work as work. I'm going to work. I'm going to go work on that video. I'm going to go, it's got to be hard and I've got to work. Like there's the work has a bad name where if you just like, oh, and so in my channeled writing, it said, what if you viewed this as a different way of expressing your divinity? I'm like, oh, that changes the frame of work from, I got a lot of work to do. I've got all this stuff that I have to do versus, wow, here's a different way for me to have my divinity show up. I'm washing the dishes. That's a different side of me, and my divinity and oneness still shows up as when I'm doing this radio show with you, as when I'm working with a coach. It's just like different ways of your divinity to express themselves. Then it's that whole thing, the sukha and sthira and yoga, where it's effort and ease. Like, how can you apply effort? We're doing a show, there's effort. But how can you do it with ease instead of thinking, I'm working now? That's another thing that I've been toying around with.
Going along those lines, it makes me think of Michelangelo. Mm-hmm. And the David is within. The David is within whatever we are doing, whether it's a clean dish, whether it's paperwork, quote, being done, whether it is creating a show. Whatever it is, if we can get into that flow state, that state of allowance, and allow, like you're saying, the divinity to come out, then we don't have to fight the marble
right.
to get the David to come out, but we simply allow it. We put the chisel there, sure, there's effort. That's what you're talking about. There's effort of hitting the hammer against the chisel, but then this magnificent divine something, in this case David, comes out of the experience because we didn't fight it. Yep. And I guess that's my biggest theme this week, is that no matter how crazy the world appears to be, if you don't fight it, if you instead, I'm going to go the open-hearted warrior, the embrace the experience, even in the nuttiness of the experience, when you're not resisting against it, it completely, like you're saying, it's not work.
Right. I'm used to seeing me do that stuff, but I'm not used to seeing you make those faces. This is funny. Any final words before we wrap up? That was a beautiful way to wrap up, if not.
I'm just in a loving place this week. I think just the more we can remember, we came from love, we are love, we embody love, we go back to love. Everything about us is love. And if you can plug into that, not just even in the difficult moments, especially in the difficult moments, it changes everything.
Yeah.
And breathe.
I love how your voice just dropped. I think both of our voices dropped down at least an octave.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Any last words, CJ?
I'm good.
For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou.
I love it, CJ. Saying, be well, have fun, bring love to whatever you're doing, and of course, breathe deep and shine bright.
Woo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.